Welcome back to my belated annual Oscar series where I talk about all the Oscar categories except for the short film ones. I rank all the nominees per category according to who I think deserves to win the Oscar, then I make a prediction for who I think will win that Oscar. Of course, right now I'm talking about the categories from last year since I didn't get to do them then, but we are down to our last three categories, so let us talk about Best Actor. And the nominees are Bryan Cranston as Dalton Trumbo in Trumbo, Matt Damon as Mark Watney in The Martian, Leonardo DiCaprio as Hugh Glass in The Revenant, Michael Fassbender as Steve Jobs in Steve Jobs, and Eddie Redmayne as Einar Wegener and Lily Elba in The Danish Girl. Now, I am completely satisfied with this list. I think every single one of these actors deserves to be on here and deserved a shot at getting the Oscar, although there is, for me, a clear winner, kind of. What I love about this list, though, is that it's a great mix of different styles of performances. So depending on what you look for in acting, I think you'll be able to find there's something for everyone here. So at 5th place in terms of who I think deserves to win the Oscar, at 5th place I'm going to put Bryan Cranston in Trumbo. First, I want to make it very clear that Bryan Cranston is probably my favorite actor, of all time, and of course that's thanks to Breaking Bad, which I mention a lot in passing on this channel. But if you guys still haven't seen Breaking Bad, what are you doing with your life? Go watch it. He puts on one of the best performances of all time in that show. And I'm perfectly fine with him being nominated for his performance here, and this character that he's created is a creation that he clearly was very meticulous in putting together, because you can see just in the way he kind of, half closes his eyes sometimes, the way he slumps his shoulders, the way he talks, he's really put this character together from scratch. And Cranston is a master at playing a character for both laughs and for more serious moments, and here, he's still great. It's just that it's a very stagey performance, which works for some scenes in the movie, but for others it doesn't. So it's a great performance, but it's a very inconsistent one too. Now at 4th place, I'm going to put, don't hate me, Leonardo DiCaprio. I know. Okay, here's the thing. His performance in The Revenant is very intensely physical, that really relies on more primal emotions than complex ones, and really required an actor that would be just unflinchingly committed to playing this role, and Leo does it really, really well. I find that there's little to say about his performance in The Revenant because it's the one where, I don't have to explain why it's good acting, you just have to watch him act, and it's crazy. So my issue with his performance in The Revenant isn't really an issue with him, but with the character. I just feel like this is one of those roles that naturally limits the actor, because I feel like Leo was doing the best he could do given what he was given. It's just that the character doesn't allow him to reach any real emotional moments. There's no emotional investment, in my opinion, in The Revenant. Moving on, at number 3, I'm going to put Matt Damon in The Martian. And this role of Mark Watney in The Martian completely relies on the actor being charismatic enough by himself. There's not a lot of people to bounce off of in this movie, and Matt Damon had to carry the film on his own shoulders, and he does it really well. Infamously, this movie won, I believe, the Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture Comedy, and it is a funny movie, and Matt Damon is often funny throughout the film in many different ways. There's some physical humor, there's a lot of humor that just kind of relies on his own sort of reactions to things, and he carries it well. But there are other moments where just the weight of this character's loneliness bears down on him, and his fear of maybe all this planning actually won't, amount to anything, and you feel that. It's that great balance that Matt Damon strikes that really, I think, puts him into the top tier, at least for this year. Now at number 2, I'm going to put Eddie Redmayne in The Danish Girl. Now, ignoring the politics of having Eddie Redmayne play this character, I know that it's a sensitive issue for a lot of people, and I don't invalidate that sort of worry, because, the gender politics here are important in my opinion. However, for now, we're just going to be looking at the performance that he gave and that we saw. And in my opinion, what he does in The Danish Girl is better than what he did in The Theory of Everything. It's a very similar performance in that it both requires a physical transformation and an emotional one. And here you can really trace it very clearly, but it comes at such a subtle pace. You can still kind of tell that Einar as he transitions into being a woman, you can tell that, you know, there's still the same human being, but there's just like slight changes in how Eddie Redmayne carries himself that really lets you know that this is a completely different character. And emotionally speaking as well, as this character transitions into being a woman, she becomes a lot more confident in herself and can kind of, you know, cut loose and live the life that she's always wanted to live. But at the same time, this is a performance that has a lot of fear in it because, of course, she's nervous about you know, these surgical procedures that had never been really attempted before, but she still has to carry on with a lot of courage, and I think Eddie Redmayne, you know, puts that across very well. And finally, at number one, the actor who I think deserved the Oscar this year was Michael Fassbender in Steve Jobs. He is so good in this movie that you just do not care that he looks nothing like Steve Jobs, and he doesn't really sound like Steve Jobs either. What he does is he plays a version of Steve Jobs for this film that we can completely believe in because he just comes across as a complete character and a real human being. His character here is similar in some ways to the version of Mark Zuckerberg that Jesse Eisenberg played in The Social Network, and it's great that Michael Fassbender is able to keep up with the manic energy of Aaron Sorkin's script, and even if he's like running across the screen and like just delivering lines really quickly, you still get every single emotion out of him. Steve Jobs in this movie and probably in real life is a real prick who always tries to outtalk others and speak over other people and try to sort of manipulate them into doing what he wants done. But as the movie goes by, you understand why this Steve Jobs is the way he is, and you understand, you know, every single sort of crazy decision he wants to make. You know where it's coming from, so while you may not completely agree with him and you may want to punch him in the face, you get it, you know, and he clues you in to his emotional state just through the smallest things, even as he's talking really fast. And it's just such an impressive performance that I completely forgot it was Michael Fassbender. It's like, in my opinion, the best performance from a lead actor in 2015. But as for my official prediction of who I thought the Oscars were going to give the award to, I put my bet on Leo, and of course Leo also won. This has been a long time coming, you know, all the news of the crazy things that Leo did on set of The Revenant. That kind of stuff is very appealing to the Academy, and also just because I think most people agree that this was an award for his entire body of work, not necessarily just for The Revenant, which again is something I hate that the Academy does, but I guess it was about time. Alright, so those are my thoughts on Best Actor. What do you guys think of the nominees from last year? Who do you think deserved to win? Who do you think was going to win? Whatever you thought, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.